us as slave labor.
The uprising is upon us!
We're under attack!
I come with eldritch knowledge not meant for mortal minds that may drive you mad. For did you know, war pigs and Deck the Halls can be sung to each other's tunes? If you want to see part 1, links in the description below. But now, on to part 2. Deck the halls with boughs of holly. 'Tis the season to be jolly. Don we now our gay apparel. Sing the ancient Yuletide carol. See the blazing Yule before us. Strike the harp and join the chorus. Follow me in merry measure while I tell of Yuletide treasure. Oh Lord, yeah. Dun, 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 dun. Fast away the old year passes. Hail the new year, lads and lasses. Sing we joyous all together, heedless of the wind and weather. And once again, rock on.
Good morning, my beauties and bees. It's great to see everybody out there this morning. I already got a lively bunch in my side chat tonight, or today. It's not tonight, unless you're, in Australia or Eastern Asia. then it might be tonight, but it is a special day for a lot of people. It is culturally, in the U.S., what we celebrate is Christmas Eve or Xmas Eve, or Santa Night is tonight. So there's a popular American folklore, and I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir, because I 95% of my viewership are in the U.S. or the U.K., so where it's very kind of a bigger deal. It's even a bigger deal in the U.S. and Canada and stuff than it is in the U.K. too. So there's a little bit of a difference there too. But here in the U.S. on Christmas Eve, there are a lot of family traditions that one participates in, especially when you have small children. There is putting Christmas cookies out for Santa. Putting milk and cookies out. There is. We used to. It was oatmeal and glitter, and sometimes we'd have like seeds and stuff in there too. But we'd throw it out into the yard for the reindeer to eat, even though the reindeer were supposed to lean on the roof. We would encourage the reindeer to, while Santa is down the chimney dropping presents, we were encouraging them to deviate from the plan and come down to the yard and snack on some oats and stuff. So, as children, we were kind of punks, right? I mean, if all things considered, we were encouraging the reindeer to abandon Santa. When he gets back up the chimney, he's gonna be like, "What the?" And look down the yard, and the reindeer are gone. He's gonna have to go back down the chimney, because that's how he does it, with some magic finger on the nose, out the front door, to get to the reindeer, because I fed them oats in the yard. And I thought about this as a kid, laying in the bed at night. And I thought, why do we throw the oats in the yard? But I never really, put much of it behind them. Like, because I was like, should we put the oats should we put them on the roof? But, our parents were going to let us come on the roof. I never brought that to my parents' attention or anything, but I'd laid awake thinking of it. I mean, on Christmas Eve night, as a kid, you're laying awake thinking about stuff anyway, right? I've moved my camera, so I'm like used to looking over here. I'm going to move it back to where it was, because I like it better over here. Sorry if this is jarring for me to shuffle the camera around, but I want to be able to look at you guys as I talk to you. And I feel like I'm looking over here and you guys are over there now. This is better though. Now I feel like I'm looking at you. So anyway, that was a tradition that I did with my children too when they were small, because I love playing around on it. And now when my kids got old enough to start asking questions about Santa, what we did, and this was my wife's thing more so than mine, was like let them sort it out, let them figure it out. And I think maybe that was the best way to go about it, because does this seem like a real thing to you? Is a good exercise in parsing reality and in critical thinking, in looking over these notions, these claims, and asking those types of questions, like, why would we put the stuff in the yard when the reindeer land on the roof? Why does Santa come down chimneys when almost nobody has a chimney anymore? Almost no one at all has a chimney anymore. It's almost like the lore was built around a time when they didn't foresee alternative heating methods to a chimney. Now, well, actually I shouldn't say that, because there was the potbelly stove was a thing then. Ben Franklin invented, with the stovepipe that goes out to let the smoke out, and I'm sure you all are familiar with that. But those were used in that time period too, I guess I should say. I didn't want to. I'm just covering it up because I want to be like, oh, Bree thinks they didn't have stoves in, when was that written, 1823? I know they had stove in 1823, but a lot of people in this time period did not have such options, and they had a chimney, especially rural people who lived in like farmhouses and cabins and stuff. They were just, it was actually easier to heat a whole house with a chimney because it went all the way up through the house. You could heat 2 stories, and most farmhouses were 2 stories, where the house functions were downstairs and people lived upstairs. Their private domiciles were upstairs, so heating it that way was just more efficient with that layout of a home. Anyway, so that's what I'm getting at, is that when it comes to things like Santa Claus and teaching children about Santa Claus, I think it's an excellent tool to help people, help children question some of the other things that they're being told in their life, whether it's stuff they're being told by their friends and by their peers, by me even, stuff I'm telling my kids. You know what? Critically think what I'm saying to you, because I'm not right about everything, and there's a lot of topics that I'm kind of ignorant on, and there's a lot of topics that I'm ignorant on and then don't think I'm ignorant on, so I talk about them too, like politics. I bet I'm totally in the dark on it. If anybody who's like done political studies and stuff probably listen to me talk about politics and are like, but you know what? I got some straight up Dunning-Kruger, like, you know, most Americans, because we all think that we know what's best, and I voice my opinion on it all the time. So yeah, question what I say too, kids. To my children, to my hive. If I cite something, if I say something on here, check for citations. Ask me for citations. I love it. So let's get started, because it's time for Cryptic Corner. I'll see you guys over there in just a minute, okay? Oh gosh, I'm just gonna get terrible at that. I'm trying to get down how these transitions go. I got myself muted. Gonna happen at least once a stream, right? Welcome to Cryptic Corner. For those of you watching at home, it's not. But for those of us here and these guys over here in the side chat there, these guys over here, it is Christmas Eve, and we are. Yeah. Yep. I'm starting over, Sandy. But yeah, it's Christmas Eve here, and we were just talking about all the sorts of lore around Christmas, which doesn't tie directly into our topic for Cryptic Corner here, but let me tangentially make it a thing, so bear with me. This is, and you don't have to accept this. I'm just trying to make it a thing, honestly. That. Oh, hold on, Godseed. What you were saying about Santa Claus? Yeah, with my oldest kid, I did. I did pretend to believe in Santa Claus. So there was like a learning curve to parenting, and I feel bad for my oldest son sometimes, because when I first started parenting, I tried really hard to be my dad, because that's what I thought a dad was supposed to do, and then I wasn't good at it because I'm not a dad. Well, I am a dad, but or a father. I'm more of a mothering figure though, and I can't help it. So it was really hard for me to be that role for him. Anyway, poor kid. Anyway, that's my off-topic thing for a moment. Now, Santa Claus travels around the world and all this. all this time, just type slow. Hold on, I read lips. Like in one night he's going to all these houses, right? Which was, you know, part of the lore that everybody always talks about. It's like, oh yeah, how does that happen? How do they move that fast? And you know, it's a good question, but there are answers to it, and those answers are obviously time travel. Wait, time travel, I hear you saying? That's not real, not demonstrable. No, it's not. Not on this macro scale that we exist on, but but in the on the microscopic scale, time gets a little wonky on the quantum level, if you will. Not like Marvel movies, wonky, but pretty wonky. And yeah, there should be more research into that. Maybe we could have time travel someday. I'm not saying I believe in time travel and that it exists anyway, but today I thought it'd be fun, since we're approaching the end of 2022, to look at some time travelers. You guys want to look at time travelers with me? All right. So this first one is like they call it the circus time traveler, or the Chaplin time travel, because Charlie Chaplin, famous silent movie era and kind of guess transitional era film actor from Hollywood, released this in 1928, and this woman just walks across the screen. This is just a still from it. We can watch the video if you guys want. It's not very long. It's like 4 or 5 seconds long, but this is the best still of it. She just walks behind this zebra statue, but she's looking on it, or it looks like she's talking on a phone. Big zebra. You got a closer look at this than any of us. So, can you give us a little bit of the story behind this? We weren't there. You know, people ask, were you there? You can say yes in this case. So, what is the story here? Now, the idea is that she's on a smartphone of some kind. She's holding a smartphone up to her ear and talking on it while she walks through 1928 premiere at the Chinese theater. Now, people have examined this photo, or this clip, or this video, this imagery, and it's a fake zebra. Yeah, it's like a statue. If you watch the video, it's a statue. It's outside the premiere. It's Charlie Chaplin's circus. When that premiered, they did a lot of fanfare for that. They still do that sometimes for big premieres. They did that at my son's theater for Avatar. My son manages a theater here in town, and they did that for Avatar. And they did it for they do it for the MCU movies and stuff. So yeah, but as for this one, yes, hearing aid. That is exactly the opinion of the experts, that it's one of these square hearing aids that you put in, and it's not an earphone. It's different than that. It was more advanced than that. It was Brojo 420 Cafe. Hello. Good to see ya. That it was a hearing aid, that an early hearing aid, but we're talking about the upper crust of Los Angeles at the time. You're talking the 1920s. That was a glorious place to live. It was, as far as the climate and stuff, the San Fernando Valley. You were pretty much living large. It was only the very richest of the rich that were living in that valley and able to afford to go to Charlie Chaplin at the at the Chinese theater. So these are the upper crust people. I believe that this woman is having, and that's, I guess maybe we should watch the video clip, because there's a person, there's a person walking about 3 feet in front of her, and she may be listening to what they're saying or talking to them. I'm not sure. She may be having a conversation, so she's holding her ear thing up so she can hear, because it had like a receiver, like a microphone receiver, and then like a plug that went into your ear. It was like a, it was almost like a, almost like an earbud. Like an earbud thing that went into your ear that was attached to the one side of the device, and then there was like a microphone on the other side. So it was like putting up the world outside up to a microphone and putting it directly into your ear. Really cool device, but you had to like point it like a microphone at what you're trying to hear. But really neat. There's a we're looking into old hearing aids and old dental. Dental stuff is always interesting to see how these ideas developed and how they progressed over time and what they did to make these things easier. All right. Another one with a cell phone. Now, this one, I don't... What year is this one? This is the 1938. I'm sorry. I put that right underneath the channel banner, and now it's in the way. Hold on. Oh, we're gonna move this down just a hair, because I don't like the way that that's in the way. So that looks better. All right. Sorry about that. Y'all get to watch me live edit. Okay, so this one also has a video clip. I guess we're gonna go watch the videos on these. Hold on. Let me go grab it. We'll watch it real quick. I didn't plan on watching it, but then I get to talking about them, and I'm like, oh yeah, she does this in the video. And it's like, why am I just saying she does this when... it's only... And these are only short little clips, so it's not a big deal. Let me get it pulled up here, but it's got the slideshow here. So... There we go. All right, so it's got the 1938 one. We're going to get you pulled up here. There we go. And it'll show, I think this shows both of them too. Woman on a cell phone. And I think this one was more compelling back when when they first start talking about this one. We'll look in a second, but when they had flip phones, because it's almost like she closes it there like a flip phone, which I guess they're coming back in style. Flip phones. That's what I'm trying to say. Why is that so hard? But I think they're coming back in style now. But I don't think she had that. I think she had like a compact with the folds open with the little mirror and the powder thing. Hey, there's somebody. Did you guys know there's somebody filming outside? Oh, let's do our makeup. And then all the girls do their makeup and they start walking out there. She's still got her clasp in her hand. She's walking out. She's like, oh gosh, there's the camera. And she puts it away and smiles. That's what it looks like to me. But yeah. So there's that one. And then I think this one has the chaplain one in it too. Maybe not though. Nope, this one just has her. Yeah, I mean that's my opinion on it. What she was doing there is like, oh yeah, there's. there's a camera outside, girls. And they're like, oh, yeah, and do our makeup. Which I would do too. So I don't know, not shaming. No shade, hun. I'd be all like, oh, let me get my makeup on before I'm going to go on camera. I get my makeup on every morning before I go on camera. Sometimes it's like 9:32 when I go live because I'm busy doing my makeup because I'm trying to do something new. I changed my hairstyle twice this morning before I was satisfied on this, and it still makes my hair look stupid thin. So I'm probably going to change it before I go do something else tonight. I think I'm supposed to go hang out with Godless Granny at 2. I'm supposed to go watch AJ at 1. So I got a lot of stuff to do. Busy girl over the holidays. I thought I was going to be lonely. I'm going to be swamped because also I'm part of the 48 hour, or I guess it's more like 52 hours anymore. Part of this marathon thing, and I'm going to be not on this channel though. I'm going to be on my Gaia channel. I'm going to be talking about the history and folklore of reindeer. It's going to be super fun. Do not miss it. It'll be freaking rad. There's all kinds of cool folklore and stuff surrounding reindeer that we're going to talk about. That is tomorrow night at I believe it's 10 p.m. to midnight. So it'll be a whole fun time slot. We're going to go deep on reindeer. There's going to be a couple other things that we do that are adjacent to that. We're going to watch the Anacrosaurus video that I made with a collab with a couple of my friends on. So it's going to be fun. So don't miss that. It's going to be a great ride. Okay, back to the time traveler though, because I think I have the time on this, don't I? No, I don't have the time on this one. However, yeah, there's that's my opinion on this though. She has like a compact of some kind that she was just powder in her face before she walked out on the camera, and she just still had it in her hand. Maybe because the other girls were in a big hurry. You see, they all have their little makeup bags with them. Yeah, just my opinion of what we saw there. Now, this one is quite interesting. What we're looking at here is a 1943 beach in Cornwall. And this fella here, there's a closer look at him. Let's get a closer look. Texting, right? That's what they think he's doing. He's dressed kind of different-y. I don't know why I have the dates all wonky on this one. Sorry. This is 1943 too. The next picture is 1917, I think. So, sorry about that. It's just late night editing. Like usual. So, yeah, but the general consensus about this image is that our boy's just rolling a cigarette. Why is he dressed weird? I don't know. People dress different in the 1940s. Look at this dude. I'm sure he's got the same pants on as the guy here. Same pants. And he's wearing a bowler, or no, it's not a bowler pad, it's like a pork pie hat. And I'm sure that this shirt goes under a suit jacket. And other people have suit jackets too. See, there's a suit jacket hanging there. You can see the sleeve on it. So he's not dressed that much different than the rest of these people. It's just, yeah, look, there's a dude right here in a suit jacket. Down here in, right there. Right there. With a hat and a jacket. Maybe he's a time traveler too. Maybe they're doing a sting operation for our temporal time bandit. I think I skipped one. So I'm going to go back real quick. Yes, here's our boy. This is my favorite one. This is the hipster, they call this guy. Which is funny, right? Because, yeah, you can see why. He's got this this rough Looks like a somebody went to town like a tweed with a pair of scissors to get this look, but in the sunglasses. And then there's the claim that of course he has a printed T-shirt too, so which was not really a thing in 1941. Printed T-shirts weren't, but it's actually, if you look closer, it's sewn. It's like a sewn-on patch for I guess like a hockey jersey. Which that doesn't say anything about the time period. They would have those then, and they would have those, all the way up until when did print T-shirts start really? I think like the mid '90s, where all the print places coming into vogue. Before that, it was like super expensive to get T-shirts printed. Only companies could afford to do it. They did it on a massive scale. They started doing that in like the '80s. But this isn't that. This is, I believe that the idea is it's like the Montreal Maroons on this shirt, which again doesn't really, because I mean it doesn't say anything specifically about whether or not this guy's a time traveler or not, but it doesn't, this shirt doesn't indicate that. So let's look at other features. Obviously this jacket is rough looking here, but unless this guy is like a fashion model, this isn't like a modern style or anything. This is something you would see on like a weird runway show or something, but not a thing that you'd see people generally wearing out in public now or in 1941 as like a major portion of the population. But does it indicate what time period he's from? I don't know. Could it just be something really old that's worn out, and he wore it to come out and see this? This is like a grand opening for a bridge in Canada. And the sunglasses. As far as the sunglasses go, I think these look like old snow goggles to me. Let me see something here. I had that pulled up too, and I closed it. $1940 snow goggles. Yeah. Let's look at those. See what we think. Well, let's see. So we're gonna, so like these. There's all different kinds, but glacier goggles. They've been coming up with them, different styles of them. Now, why you would wear snow goggles to a grand opening? I mean, they're basically, this is getting into different topics, but yeah, looking at these old tiny ones, this are basically sunglasses. They just had a strap instead of earpieces on each side. Now, does our alleged hipsters have a strap or earpieces? Let's go back and look and see if we can decipher that or not. So, do you have earpieces, hon? You can't tell. There could be a strap. So yeah, you could be wearing some old snow goggles, but regardless, I'm not convinced that anything here could not have been around in 1941. Just because he's dressed weird for the time period doesn't mean that he's not dressed for the time period. This would be weird today too, where people would say he was dressed weird. People would say he was dressed odd, or that he was a hipster, or people would ridicule this look. Like they just took some random dude and pasted him over the pic with some careful editing. No, I think people have looked into this, and this is actually a real picture, like photo analyst and stuff. I'm no photo analyst. I know some tricks to see if things are photoshopped. I know how to manipulate the picture to see if there's been alterations in the pixels and things like that. I didn't do it on this one because I know it's been reviewed so much that it has been confirmed that it's authentic. But yeah. Anyway, that's my opinion on this one. But let's get back to where we were here. And yeah, this next one, 1917. Again, someone allegedly being out of place here with their outfit and their hairstyle and stuff. So you got some folks sitting up on the rocks, and then you got this gentleman wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and people will be like, oh, those baggy shorts and t-shirt are modern, but the shorts don't look to me any different than than the two people sitting to his left. They are both wearing shorts as well that don't look all that much more baggy than what he's wearing. Looks like the other notion of why this is supposed to be a time traveler is the way that the gentleman to his left and right are looking at him like they're surprised to see him there, is the claim, but I don't know that pans out. I think he is supposed to be the central figure of this picture. He looks, and this is going to sound racist, but we're colonizers, so white people were doing stupid shit like this. I don't want to. Like, all these other people around him look like they are a work crew, and he's not actually part of the crew. He's like the white guy in charge, so of like a quarry team or a dig team. That's the impression that I get from this picture. It's what you see with a lot of like the great white hunters and stuff. Or the old the fossil diggers from the late Victorian era, where they pose in the pictures with their local indigenous work crew. That's kind of the impression that I get from this one. But anyway, let's move on to the next one. And feel free, if you disagree with me about any of these, please in the comments down below. If you're like, hey Bree, you're dumb because of this and this, please just come at me. I love it. Come at me with that, and I will delve in and enjoy. So it's okay to tell the truth about history. Yeah, it is okay to tell the truth about history. That's what we were doing. I say that. I said I wasn't saying that because I wasn't trying to say, hey, these other people look low class and this guy looks classy. Like he's just. No, I was just what I was getting at is that he's the white guy in the middle, and he's the whitest white guy in the middle. Now this one is a painting, so it's a little bit different. I think we got a couple of paintings on this list today, so hang in there with me. So now this is not just any painting. This is like a well-known painting. It was from 1670. It's called "The Woman with a Letter." I said that in my Hoven voice. A letter. She has a letter from a messenger. Anyway, yeah, with a letter and a message in an interior. So you got this woman holding her letter, and the artist doing their best to paint it at the angle, which inadvertently makes it look like tall and narrow, like a smartphone. And that the idea is that she is looking at her smartphone in this painting, which is not a thing that's happening here, babe. She's got a letter. It's even the artist's intention to show her holding a letter. Oh. And 1860. 1860, which one we have here is... I got my notes over here, so... All right, the expected one. This is another famous painting that we don't have any disagreement about its origins or anything. That's just silly to claim that we do. This woman walking towards the painter. There is a boy crouched off the side of the path holding a flower for her. She doesn't notice him because she's looking at something in her hands. Looks like she may be playing Angry Birds. No, I don't know if she's, or she could just be scrolling through her Insta feed. But what she's actually probably doing is supposed to be doing is looking at a little book in her hands. So she is not supposed to notice the boy because she's reading the book. No actual indication that what she's holding is a cell phone. That's just inference from a modern lens. It's like, what did people stare at when they walked around back in 1860? The children ask, and they're like, "Oh, they didn't have anything, so that must be a cell phone." No, we had, up until I was a kid, even not even a kid. It's only recently that even with the technology that we had that we could carry it around. Smartphones weren't around in like 2010, I guess, would have been when they really became a standard thing that everybody really started having them. But before that, you didn't have you didn't have information available to you all the time when you were walking around. So yeah, people were still reading the shampoo bottle in the bathroom during this time period. Oh, I think there's another one that's an old painting too. Yeah, check this one out. So this is one of those murals at a post office. My post office in my hometown had one too. It was about a flood though. Every post office wants to have a hometown about the history of their little town. So they kind of like lays everything out. My little town has one too. It's not inside though. Mine's on the side of like a really big image inside of a building. Well, unless it's not there anymore, they might have took it down because it was sort of problematic. Had slave stuff in it and all kinds of things. But I mean, so does this one. You see, there's a guy in bonds there tied to a post, and then there's another guy back here in the stocks. We got a conquistador, and the gentleman in the front, though, lower front with the feathers in his hair, clearly supposed to be a Native American, although I don't know that there was any specific group that had like the tribal or the braided beard thing. That almost looks more Egyptian, which is weird, but artistic licensing. And they're supposed to be, I mean, this is supposed to represent trade with the Native Americans, right? So whatever he's holding there is supposed to be ambiguous trade goods. But the shape of it, again, this Egyptian bearded Indian, Native American, who is well endowed, though. I mean, good on ya. Good on ya. Yeah, anyway, what he's holding is alleged to be a smartphone. Again, just ambiguous trade goods. You can see there's some barrels and some bottles and stuff there. There's a case full of goods over to his left. This is supposed to represent trading with Native Americans. Everything that's being traded here is ambiguous. They didn't give any names. The bottles are unlabeled. The barrels are unlabeled. The parcels in the chest there are unlabeled. So what he's holding in his hand is also unlabeled, and therefore gives it an ambiguous look of a phone. Where did he charge this thing at? All right, and this one's just for fun. Crud, the year's all blocked off. Hold on. I scooched it down to get it up from underneath here. We're going to move it back up now because I think we're past the ones that have that up there. So, and then we got Nicolas Cage time travel. I just thought this was funny, so I would share it. This isn't actually going to have any any impact at all on the topic. But yeah, Nicolas Cage is a time traveler. That's good stuff, right? Good stuff. I just think this is just somebody who looks like him, right? But anyway, that was our list of time travelers and their alleged presence in a time period that they shouldn't exist in. I don't know that I found it convincing. I don't know if you found it convincing. If you did, tell me in the comments down below. Which one was the most compelling to you? Was it our hipster friend here? Okay. Was it our one of our cell phone ladies? One of these two ladies, 10 years apart, talking on their cell phones as they walk. Was it our warmly dressed gentleman on the beach? Our white guy in the middle? One of these paintings, perhaps? Let me know down below which one you thought was the most compelling. And thank you for joining us in Cryptic Corner. We'll see you later, my beauties and bees. For the people watching live, stick around for CreationWatch coming up next. For the folks watching this on Friday night, please remember to hit the like. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and give us a subscription, and then time travel back in time and give us a subscription back then too. And then leave us a comment and tell us what you think of time travel. Who's your favorite time traveler on here? We got. Do you want to see more time travel topics? There's individuals we can go over. There's the chronovisor stuff that we didn't even get to. The chronovisors, yeah, if you want to talk about that, we can talk about the Philadelphia experiment and the Montauk project. Those are huge topics that overlap with time travel. There's several time travelers you can watch getting interviewed on various platforms. So just let us know. Please remember to be kind and take care, and we will see you next time.
Then the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the land of Egypt for the locusts, so that they may come into the land of Egypt and eat every plant in the land, all that the hail has left." So Moses stretched out his staff over the land of Egypt, and the Lord brought up an east wind upon the land all that day and all that night. When it was morning, the east wind had brought up the locusts. The locusts came up all over the land of Egypt and settled on the whole country of Egypt. such a dense swarm of locusts as had never been seen before, nor ever will be seen again. They covered the face of the whole land, so that the land was darkened, and they ate all the plants in the land, and all the fruit of the trees that the hail had left. Not a green thing remained, neither tree nor plant of the field throughout the whole land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh hastily called upon Moses and Aaron and said, I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you. Now, therefore, forgive my sin, please, only this once, and plead with the Lord your God only to remove this death from me. So he went out from Pharaoh and pleaded with the Lord, and the Lord turned the wind into a very strong west wind, which lifted the rocks and drove them into the Red Sea. Not a single locust was left in the country of Egypt. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he did not let the people of Israel go.
Hey guys, this is Matt Powell. To genetically to prove evolution, quote unquote, is mutation. And so the supposed best evidence genetically for evolution actually is some of the best evidence for creation. And just the fact that somebody would think that mutations somehow cause perfection and that we would get a perfect human species as supposed best evidence genetically for evolution. And evolutionists always like to claim that natural selection somehow disproves God, and it proves that evolution is somehow true. But just the phrase natural selection literally proves that the genetics have to do some selecting, or they have to make a choice. That's what select even means, hence the phrase natural selection. We have C14 in 65 million year old dinosaur bones. No matter what technique you try to say or try to bring forward as proof that it somehow got contaminated, it just shows that apparently you don't know much about diamonds, because diamonds cannot be penetrated by nature. Nature has no way of penetrating diamonds because they're the toughest subatomic particles that exist in nature. And then before you know it, you've got humans. You know, you go from Australopithecus afarensis, Lucy, all the way up to Cro-Magnon man, Peking man, and Piltdown man, and all these frauds that have been debunked already back in the 90s. And you know, you go and you evolve through this supposed chain of evolution. Now, recently I was watching a debate between Dr. Kent Hovind and Maddie from Science Side Up, and that was their rescue device. That's their rescue device as evolutionists, is just a little mudslide did it. Here's the thing, guys. If you look at pornography, scientists have stated that it will erode your prefrontal cortex physically. It will destroy your brain. So the supposed thing that supposedly makes you manly in 2021 is the very thing that destroys your brain cells and make it so you can't even physically carry out what God designed for you to carry out in your marriage. I can't even believe that this is supposedly controversial, and that this video right now will be taken as controversial, and people will say that it's just so crazy to wait till marriage or to not look at pornography. I know of men out there that have very beautiful wives that still view pornography because their wife doesn't cut it for them, supposedly, is waiting till you're married, not looking at pornography, and even after you're married, not looking at pornography. It will destroy your brain cells. It has nothing to do with supposedly being manly. It will only cause you to be a worse individual and sick in the mind. That's God's judgment on this nation, is pornography.
Richard?
It's simply the judgment of Almighty God. God hates pornography. God hates divorce. And pornography is actually one of the causes of divorce in our nation right now. One of the leading causes, as well as finances. They're going to put a ring on the finger and they're going to marry you if they love you. They're not just going to say, oh, well, get the milk for free, but don't buy the cow. Whenever I hear that statement from some freak, it just makes me realize They don't actually care about the person they're getting with. When they say, oh, just get the milk, but don't buy the cow, they're literally equating a woman to a cow. People don't honor women today. People don't respect women. If you look at a woman as nothing more than something that you get pleasure from, then you're a wicked person. So one of the things that people point to oftentimes for proof of evolution is actually the solar system. You'll actually see that this idea that it's 4.5 billion years old is just completely bogus. When somebody came to you and said that the Earth was billions of years old, or the solar system was billions of years old, and that evolution was somehow a fact. Now, the way that evolutionists will actually try to fix this problem is through what's known as the Oort cloud. They don't even have an answer for the star problem. They don't have the answers. You know, so why? But it's funny because these are the people that want to tell you that the Bible has errors in it. There's no evidence for the Oort cloud, according to the scientists that are out there that even invented it. Dr. Oort, the man who invented it, literally knew there was no Oort cloud. He just made it up. He just made it up out of thin air, and people talk about it like it's a fact, like it's really out there, but there's no evidence for it. And I think that it's just phenomenal that there's people out there that are more concerned about the pursuit of truth than the pursuit of present happiness. And he said, well, I don't know how you could believe that there was a Jewish man that died and was buried and resurrected. That sounds really crazy to me. How could you believe in this? And he said, magical resurrection. And interestingly enough, for those out there who claim that the Big Bang is somehow a proven fact, nobody would ever say that the compressed air has been sitting in an air compressor for billions of years. And just in the same manner, nobody would ever say that helium inside of rock crystals has been sitting there for 4.5 billion years. Nobody would ever say that unless they're just ignorant of the facts. And, you know, I used to like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but that was fiction, folks.
All right, if you are not subscribed to Big Bad Mama, subscribe. She puts together those compilations for us of stuff like that, of air quotes and all that good stuff. I do air quotes too. I talk with my hands all the time, but I'm sure Matt would probably take umbrage with me doing that too, if you'd understand my meaning. He would. That was. Yeah, Big Bad Mama did those edits. Me and Big Bad Mama do. We are friends on the back end. We communicate through email and send each other clips and videos to make stuff with. Images too. They also send me stuff for the show. They sent me some pictures of condors that I'm going to be using. Not till the summer, but when I do my on the Gaia channel, when I do my desert biomes, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do the year. I got a couple of ways to approach it, but my January just got super busy, so I'm probably pushing everything that I have for the Gaia channel back in January. I'm not going to start the Kipling thing until February now, probably, just because I had a couple of big things land on my lap here that are going to take up the next few weeks. Really exciting stuff. You know, of course, the first thing being McKinnon's latest documentary that I am second chair director on, to Kill the Ill, that premieres in 2 days, the day after Christmas, on his channel, and I am producing the after party, and that'll be on his channel too, using this sweet OBS setup that I got. I would show you what the layout looks like, but I want it to be a surprise. Plus, I have to switch over and then it would disconnect me here. So we're not going to do that. You recently debated Jill, and he brought an obvious straw man as a debate title. Not real bright either, much like Matt Powell. Yeah, I mean, I've had my engagements with Jill too. I think he's decided he can talk to me, because his decision to talk to someone is not based on anything else, on whether he can or cannot talk to you. It's only and strictly based on what the structure of your genitalia looks like. So if it fits a certain criteria for him, then he'll talk to you. So he will talk to me, but he won't talk to someone. A godless girl came in and tried to talk to him. And he wouldn't talk to her. So yeah, her genitals are structured different than mine, though. So. And he really wants to know about it. Like a lot of people, there was Redefined Living over in Standing for Truth side chat. Really wanted to insist that that I should be defined by my genitalia too. It's really weird flex that these guys have about that sort of thing. But I digress. There's more to each and every one of us than what we pack in our pants, right? There's more to me as a character, me as an individual, than... Wait, hold on. What is this? Eek. That's not what I wanted. To me as an individual, then how I contribute to the genes of the next generation. That's just how I look at the world. I don't go off of what my reproductive organs are and things like that. I got some debates on Twitter here these last few days regarding gender stuff, and we were talking about bees. I know this is like kind of off topic, but it's kind of tangential too, and you'll see why in just a minute. And about bee reproduction in general. It's I don't know. There's a level of incredulity here that I don't even know how to begin to explore, right? There's a level of incredulity that... Damn it, I'm trying to find it so I can read it. So I was explaining nanny bees to these chuds. Let me see if I can get this to share properly. There we go. And we were talking about sex, and that sex is bimodal, not binary. Let's share that. So here is the sex diagram, and the person brought up bees of all things to me. Maybe specifically because I had a bee or a wasp. My logo is actually a hornet. Specifically, I had an artist make it for me. It's a hornet. It's commissioned work, very much, and so maybe that's why they came at me with bees. They said, "So you're saying that bees are?" You're saying that bees are non-binary, and you're saying that bees have a third sex? And I said, no, bees are dihaploid, and they... trying to find it. Dang it! Why does this? It gets buried. It gets buried in the arguments I get into. You never know how it's going to go down. And most of this stuff I do from memory. I don't like letting chuds push me into doing research. So they were arguing that because the queens lay the eggs and the males produce the sperm, that the bees' sexual reproduction was binary, right? So the claim is that what I have up here on the screen demonstrates a binary system of reproduction, and I'm seeing bimodal here 100%. you have this. What's on this diagram is called a worker. There's a caste that there's a few non-reproductive castes that fill different roles, and the person didn't understand that these roles are not just a job. It's not just, oh, you're assigned to do this job and you're assigned to do that job. They're actually a biological role that these individuals play, whether they're a nanny bee or a soldier or a forager. They're different. They're not all the same. They're distinct. They're not the ones that has worker on the image right here. Worker covers all of those groups. They're all workers. Some work as nannies. Some work as foragers. Some work as some work as what did I say? Soldiers, foragers, nannies. There's other ones too that do certain like harvesting and production tasks within the group too, within the clade. Now, when you get into greater Hymenoptera, that's encompassing all what we would traditionally call wasps. But you have to understand when you talk about that bees and ants are both wasps. There are both types of wasps. Don't make any mistake about it. The term Hymenopteran is synonymous with wasp. And the clades that exist within that include bees and they include ants. In the same way that the clade that includes cockroaches includes within it, nested within it, termites. So termites are a type of cockroach. In the same way, ants and bees are a type of wasps. So are hornets, thread waste wasps, mud daubers, all these different clades. And some of them are closer related to what we would call an ant than they are to other groups of wasp. Some are closer related to bees than they are to other groups of wasp. We distinguish bees by they're a monophyletic clade of herbivorous wasp that live off of there's different kinds of bees. Not all bees are living in giant hives. Like some live in like pairs. For real, they don't all have huge family groups like domestic honeybees do. A lot of them do, but not all of them. Now, ants are specifically a monophyletic clade of largely fossorial or underground wasp. Largely flightless underground wasp. Now, some things that we call ants are closer related to other groups of wasps than they are to the actual groups that we would call ants, in layman's terms. So it gets really complicated here, but let's just to keep it simple. They all follow this basic outline of reproduction here, and this is important because what I'm talking about, I had something completely different on the floor for the topic of the day. Right, I was going to cover a new person. I will get to them, don't worry. But AJ, ATS Jr., called me out and said, hey, you need to respond to this. And it came into my thread because while I'm having these arguments on Twitter about bee reproduction with gender critical people, and again, this was used to assert that I was claiming, because they said that I was claiming there's a third sex. When they asked me if there's a third sex, I said no, it's like this, and showed them this and how it was bimodal. And how that system worked, and they were insisting that I was claiming this was a third sex. I was like, and they kept wanting me to say that there was either 2 or 3 sexes. And oh my goodness, I'm like, no, that's not how it works. It's not this or that. There are variables and factors, especially within hymenopterans. It gets really wild. In hymenopterans, there's a clade of ants where an entire caste, biological, their morphology, their biology is that they're born to hang from the ceiling and hold water. That's all they do. They look like grapes hanging from the ceiling because their abdomen swells up with fluid and they hang from the ceiling. That's their entire life. They don't do anything else. They look really bizarre. When it comes to driver ants, some of the ones that have left that fossorial habitat because they're super aggressive, they have individuals that their entire, most of the individuals, like a huge percent of the population, like I know it'd be over 90% of the population, is building block individuals. Their job is they just follow the chemical trail of the one in front of them and basically take orders from the one in front of them to form their body into a bridge or a mat or a ladder. That's what they do. That's all they do. So it gets really complicated. And are they sexes? No, they're not sexes. But when it comes to the nanny bees, when it comes to the nanny ants, the ones who fill this biological role in the colony, they are filling a reproductive role. They are part of the process. The queen lays an egg. The nannies decide how many chromosomes it has. They decide what role it's going to fill, because they're not just picking queens and workers. They create foragers. They create soldiers. They create water balloons that hang from the ceiling. They have all sorts of wild anatomical features to help them to function and thrive in an environment. So yeah. Anyway, let's get over here to this, because I've rambled enough about that. We're going to go into this whacking atheist thing. So he's talking about. Oh, did I lose it? Got him turned way down. Hold on.
An answer of them. Randall, have you seen any answers to my making baby? Come on, you atheists and evolutionists. You believe everything evolved. Give a scientific answer.
I'm giving a scientific answer to this question right now, Kent. So listen. Okay? I just gave a rant about ant reproduction and hymenopteran reproduction in general just before this. Please make sure you absorb that too. That's a preamble to responding to this. So I did take steps to make this I don't know, fair, I guess. Let me see here. He always puts himself on the side of the screen where I put my chat at. Let me see if I can't flip him or something. Hold on. I don't know. He's the only one who does this too. Everybody else puts himself in the middle and either has this up here or up here. I do tend to lean to one side on mine too, but I'm little and down in the corner. And when I put my whole thing in the middle, and that way if I'm on one side, it doesn't matter. Him being on one side of the screen like this is problematic for me. So let me do, here's what we'll do. We're just gonna, oh, I didn't mean to do that, but we're just gonna shrink him on down. Shrink him on down. Shrink him on down. Hold on, I thought I saw something about nannies maintain the environment. They create the world and keep it. Exactly. Good grief. Richard, you know you're my favorite person who identifies as a Christian. Like, not any shade against my other Christian friends. I got lots of them. But you're my favorite. Yes, the nanny bees maintain the the environment that they develop in. They control how they develop. They tend to the eggs so they develop in a certain direction. They feed the developing larvae so that they develop into whatever caste they're supposed to fill. That includes anatomical features developing differently. It's not even a, this is, yeah, it's a genetic process. We're very familiar. The way that humans reproduce is very different. All right, let's let Kent go though.
How did this happen? Let's see, the anglerfish, the tardigrade, the honeybee, they didn't answer any of them. The watermelon.
I will go back and talk about the honeybee again. I did talk about the honeybee just there if you missed it. Like rewind about, what was it guys, about 15 minutes. I rambled for a long time. I know it was boring and there was something boring up on the screen. When I do produce this with, I produce this live or the direct to video or whatever, I'll probably put some slides in there because I wasn't prepared as well about doing it for this part this morning because again this was just this was premiered last night, so about the ant babies making babies ants. Yeah, this just released last night, so I had to scramble. So I didn't have slides prepared, but I will have them when this comes out, when this releases officially. So keep your eye out for that.
How did that do it? The starfish, the praying mantis, the mud skippers, the beavers, the frogs, tonight, the ant.
All right, let's free this ant thing because we're going to focus on the ants today. I might go back and go through these. It'll be fun. My creator made me. If you think I evolved from nothing for no reason with no designer, you need to go back to school and learn some real science. So, Ken, I was just watching, we just listened to Matt here at the beginning talking about that natural selection indicates that it's not random or for no reason. They're choosing. The organisms choose. They make decisions. They're not automatons. They're choosing to reproduce. Only the ones that choose to reproduce. So those are the ones in the population, right? Let's see here. Tonight we will study a few of the hundreds of species of ants and how they make babies.
I'm an ant. My creator made me. If you think I evolved from nothing for no reason with no designer, you need to go back to school and learn some real science. Yeah. Tonight we study a few of the hundreds of species of ants and how they make babies. It'll blow your mind.
Ooh, what do we got here? I see some polyphyletic and paraphyletic representation here. I'm not going to be too hard on him. Kent is not a ecologist or an entomologist. Thinking to be honest, crew is either. These are common names, and yeah, some of them are polyphyletic, and some of them are paraphyletic. Fire ants is one that stands out to me the most. A Dracula ant, that's pretty cool. We got green-headed ant, electric ant, Saharan silver ant. Yeah, so African driver ant. I don't know why he didn't use one of the ones with the big monster heads there. That would have been cool. This image makes it look like the Dracula ant has a bigger head and mandibles than the driver ant. The driver ants are the soldiers for the driver ants are the big bads of the ant kingdom. They're the final boss if you're like battling ants. They're the ones that they're the only ants that are recorded killing people. So, I mean, not like well people, but people who can't get out of their way because they make those columns and they just destroy everything. They'll any animals, people, babies that get in their way. So you elderly person laying in their place and the window gets left open and they come in, they will eat that person or that baby.
Ants are amazing. Anyway, subscribe to our channel, please, and tell others about us. Just send them, say, watch this one, and then they'll get hooked and want to watch them all. You can help us to open for free at Dinosaur Adventureland. Join our 777 Club. Say, I like what they're doing. I want to support them. Go to drdino.com if you can. Give $1 a day. Thank you, Mr. Nelson, who calls himself Aron Ra, the sun god. Ooh, yeah.
Ooh,
He said he wanted
speaking of Aaron Raw, that's one of my things that I was talking about. Oh, I might be so busy in January. I got something going on with Aaron. I've told a few people about it. So I don't want to say anything yet until he says something about what it's about. But we're collabing. It's really awesome. I complimented his snake evolution series, and yeah, then he approached me about doing something with me. So, yay!
666 people to support his atheism channel. $1 a day.
$1 a day for the 666 Club. I always thought I didn't think the 666 Club was Aaron's though. I thought that was another creator that did that. I could be mistaken.
666. Great idea. Let's do 777 for the Lord. Okay. So you can join us if you would. Send $1 a day. Make any checks to CSE, which is Creation Science Evangelism. Okay. God ought to get the glory for his creation. We are straight north of Pensacola, 70 miles. It'd be nice to be a little further south right now today, but oh well. Of course, in the summertime.
Oh, sweetie, you don't even know what cold is. My kitchen sink's not working right now because the pipe's froze in the wall. I hope it don't burst. Yeah.
It's nice to be right here, but I want to get it 200 degrees down there. Anyway, we're a Baptist church camp, a creation ministry, and a lot of fun around here. A few miles off I-65. Stop in. There's our science center. We give tours all. I gave a tour today. That was chilly.
When do you stop advertising? You just mix the advertisement in with the whole thing. Okay. Yes, we've all seen Dinosaur Adventureland. We even in my community we even talked about getting a group together to go down and visit Dinosaur Adventureland and see what it's all about. See what all you have. So let's move forward. I get it. You have all this stuff. I don't think any of us will be bringing children if we come. So we don't need like the playground or anything like that. Unless it's an adult playground, I guess we could do that. But yeah, I'd like to. We've talked about like Godless Granny and Atheist Junior. A few people have discussed it. The Raging Atheist. We've talked about it. Coming to Lenox, Alabama, and seeing what's down there. So I'll let you know.
The real tour, the science center tour, the farm tour, the playground. You have a singing group, come on down, sing.
We do not have a singing group. I bet we could probably all get together and sing if you give us enough drinks, though. You get us inebriated, we'll probably do some karaoke for you. I will probably sing something by No Doubt badly, and you probably will be offended by my dancing.
For us here, all kinds of cool science experiments. We have 2 of the atheist's worst night.
Oh, honey, no. Didn't you just hear all the bad things that are the wrong things that Matt just laid out there in his air quote video? Like everything he said there was like factually incorrect. It's like not even a question.
Mayor's living here. Actually 3 with Damien. Okay, 252 baptized so far. And get our creation seminar series and our What on Earth series and come join us. Okay, the Bible says, go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways and be wise. Wait, what? Consider her ways? Solomon wrote this 1000 BC.
So you don't think that people that lived a very pastoral life, tending to their flocks and their herding their cattle and their goats and living out spending a great deal of their time out in a agricultural or pastoral lifestyle, right? That they, over that time that they had, yes, I twerk. Maya, you want to see me twerk? Just give me some drinks next weekend. I'm going to be hanging out with Maya next weekend. So, yeah, go to the ant or whatever. Have no guide or overseer or ruler. That they would pick up on the fact that these ones were female and these ones are male. Just over generations of living with them and living alongside them and seeing how they live. Sometimes you can. Sometimes they'll build you don't have to have an ant farm. Sometimes they'll build a colony like under a stone. And you can just lift the stone up and check on them, and then put the stone back. And then next weekend, go back out there and take the stone up and look at them again. You could spend hours watching them and then put the stone back. And you can learn a whole lot about ant culture that way. I certainly did as a kid. I think a lot of us did. And I don't imagine that it's too far-fetched to think that the people in the biblical times did the same. Probably more, because they didn't have distractions like TV and my smartphone and YouTube, and there wasn't a lot to do. They probably spent hours watching ants or bees, or they watched their cattle, obviously, while you're out there in the field. Yeah.
Before the microscope was invented, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer and gathereth her food in the harvest. How did Solomon know all the worker ants are female? Maybe that book was inspired by God,
because the males are very distinct in ants, very distinct in most hymenopterans. That's how they say, okay, the males look like this, the females and the queens, and they all have these homologies together. So
it claims to be.
Question.
The anatomy of an ant is amazing. They have a little tiny midsection called the petiole. Everything hinges on that. How on earth does this thing not snap in half?
There's another fantastic species that's very unique. Look at that, is that they have like this hinged petiole where they can swing around and do like ladders and stuff.
You can just study ant anatomy the rest of your life. There's an atheist or an evolutionist website from Wikipedia. Ants are Euro-social insects.
Hold on, let's see that. Hear that again.
Anatomy the rest of your life. There's an atheist or an evolutionist website from Wikipedia. Ants are Euro-social insects.
Eusocial, not Eurosocial. Hey, Big Bad Mama, we just talked about you just like 20 minutes ago. I think it was about 20 minutes ago. No, more like a half an hour ago. We did one of your air quote videos from Matt Powell. But yeah, it's eusocial, not Eurosocial.
So the family
Formicidia. There's like formic acid.
Today. And along with related wasps, you don't know they're related to wasps and bees. Come on.
Yeah, we do. We know that some ants are related closer to wasps than they are to other ants. You think there's only one kind of ant, but why are maybe you could say that there's only one kind of hymenopteran? If you want to say hymenopteran's a kind, that'd probably be a better argument for you. Just based on the fact that the way we classify them as people based on anatomy for hundreds of years, that once we started looking at their genetics and realizing how they were, some of these clades were paraphyletic and some were, again, polyphyletic, and we needed to narrow it down and make them all line up. When I hope I'm not losing you guys when I use the term paraphyletic, polyphyletic, and monophyletic. If I am, let me know, and I'll try to be more detailed about it. But within evolution, I'll stick with this. Within evolution, there's something called the law of monophyly. That means that you never outgrow your ancestors, that you're always what your ancestors were. By the law of monophyly, I am a hominid, which if you use layman's terms is generally synonymous with ape. So I am an ape. I am a platyrrhine. Or no, I mean catarrhine. I'm not a platyrrhine. It'd be weird if I was a platyrrhine. I'm a catarrhine. So I am an old world monkey. I am a primate. I am a mammal. You know, I am a tetrapod. I am a vertebrate, and so on and so forth. So you never outgrow your ancestry, right? So within clades, if it's polyphyletic, it means that. So if you were to say that, no, Bree, you are not a hominid or you're not an ape because people are excluded, or hominid, or Homo. The genus Homo is excluded from that classification. So then you take a group that's nested within there and pull them out and put them and separate them into their own group. That's polyphyletic. That's where you're splitting it, where there's actually no reason for convention to remove one group from the clade. And you'll see it done with things like apes specifically, I guess, is where we'll see it. Like they'll be removed from monkeys. Oh, apes are not monkeys, or something along those lines, which is quite strange to me. I had a discussion with Monkey for Banana about that a while ago. There's some different ideologies on that. But let's get back to hymenopterans, because they have an advanced, complicated cladistic history that has really started to get more lined out as we get more into mapping genomes and stuff. All right, let's keep
guys, knock it off, okay? They belong to the order Hymenoptera. Ants evolved from ancestors, from a wasp. Yeah, you can see the similarity.
Right.
In the Cretaceous.
You can see the similarities. I could show you. We could do like a question quiz of, is it a wasp or is it an ant? We could do like a slideshow of that. I would love to get together with you and do that. There's special ways to tell the difference between ants and wasps because they're so much alike. You'd be surprised.
This period, there are 22,000 species of ants have been classified. I see. 22,000 different species of ants. They might have had a common ancestor called an ant.
Nope. Some of them had. They're polyphyletic. The term ant is polyphyletic, and yeah, they all have. Some of them have different common ancestors that are different kinds of wasps.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe God made a variety of ants to start with. He can do that too, you know. One or two small between the thorax and the abdomen, the petiole, that little bitty spot right there. And all their breathing, their circulation, their strength of their body, of course that's in the exoskeleton, all goes right through there. They swallow the food, has to go through that itty bitty tiny spot. Wow. An ant colony is mostly made up of female ants. Worker ants are all sisters, and they have a mother queen. Male ants.
Sort of, they're sisters. They're more like clones. Yeah, they're more like clones. There's not a lot of genetic diversity between one to the other. Just whatever the nannies that are taking care of the baby ants, whatever they sculpt the developing larvae to be.
Ants are born only when a colony is ready to make more colonies. New queens are born then too. How do they know to do that at the right time of year? Who taught them?
They know because they're not the only things that are. They're not the only. Humans aren't the only organisms that are aware of the world around them, and have innate responses to them, and that are biological, right? You know, there's natural drivers that we have because those are the things that were passed on from our ancestors. It's quite strange that you don't seem to grasp us. And it's quite strange that you post these pictures of the male and female with wings looking just like wasps here, and be like, oh, they're not wasps.
That evolved over millions of years, right? New queens are born. Both males and new queens are born with wings. These male ants fly and mate with the new queens. Their lives are very short because mating is their only job. How does the male ant know that's his only job and then he dies? Does he know after I mate with that girl I'm dying? Does he know that? Don't you think maybe he might skip that step if he knew? Yeah, okay. The harvester ant, let's see. Now, Randall, you wanted me to do just the harvester ant. I started off there, buddy, but I couldn't stay on it. It's amazing. How many ants are there in the world? 20 quadrillion. Million, billion, trillion, quadrillion. Big number, okay? 20 quadrillion ants alive today, 2.5 million ants for every living person. 20 quadrillion equals 12.
I'm okay with these statistics. I don't know what these big numbers is.
Megatons of carbon, which exceeds the biomass of all wild animals and birds combined. All the ants in the world weigh more than all the animals and birds combined. Whoa, who'd have thunk it? The 10 largest ants in the world. Well, let's see. This one's a pretty big one, the green ant in Australia. We got the black.
Was that an Australian accent? I don't. Was that an Australian accent, guys? It didn't really sound like one to me.
Carpenter ant coming in at number 6. Let's see. The carpenter ants, when they're disturbed, they bite and they put a chemical on you. The bullet ant looks pretty cool. But the
You
giant
don't want to get bit by a bullet ant, though.
Amazonian ant. The giant Amazonian ant today, 1.5 inches long. That's a big ant. Okay. Well, that's nothing compared to fossils. Let's see.
Here we go.
Giant
Titanomira.
ants the size of hummingbirds traversed the during warm periods. Ant.
Okay, so it's funny he puts the picture of the hummingbird over top of the wings. You would not call this an ant. You would not recognize this organism as an ant. You would not say that this was an ant of the ant kind. It was very different, but we know, based on its anatomical development and its place in the fossil record and the evolutionary process of hymenopterans. Of the waspier variety moving towards the fossorial lifestyle of modern ants, that this is in that slot right there. We know where this falls.
The size of a hummingbird, a 2-inch long ant, roamed Wyoming. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Why would the fossil ants be bigger than today's ants? Ants 2 inches long. Well, see, the Bible teaches, and it's right on everything. The Bible says before the flood came, the people lived to be 900 years old.
Okay, so if people live to be 900 years old, how do you show that? How do you demonstrate that? Where is it evident in any record at all? Other than someone writing it in a book and saying it was true. Where do we find that in reality? Where do we find people, humans, living 900 years old? Where's the evidence that that was a thing that actually happened?
This is the age of giant everything. Giant reptiles called dinosaurs. They lived with Adam and Eve. They did not live millions of years ago. Okay? So after the flood, people only lived to be 400 for a couple generations. Then it dropped off to 200 and then down to 100. And today, hardly anybody makes it to 100. I'm going to do it or die trying. But okay.
Okay, so he's going to talk about griffin flies and make the false inference that they are dragonflies. So again, within your notion of kinds, unless you're saying that mayflies and damselflies and dragonflies are the same kind, then you can't lump griffin flies in here. But let's see what he has to say.
The largest dragonfly today, 6 inches. Big dragonfly. Fossil dragonflies are found 28 inches wingspan.
That's not actually a dragonfly, though. Look at his source. News. What's that? Xinhuanet? Is that like a Chinese news source? Maybe it was a translation error, but griffin flies are not dragonflies. Not at all. There's some very special anatomical features that an organism must have in order to be classified among the dragonflies, and griffin flies lack a portion on the front of their wings, so they are in a close related clade, but they're not actually dragonflies.
When was this? 300 million years ago. You tell Xinhuanet News they're insane. This is before the flood came. These giant creatures lived with Adam and Eve.
You came up with that link. What are you criticizing your own link for? I didn't use this as a resource. These people don't even know what a griffin fly is. Get better sources, babe.
Today, they said they're becoming smaller. No, this is all. Everything's different after that flood. Watch my video series for more on that right here.
Honey, you think I haven't watched your video series? You are one of the people that that kept me involved in this community. You and your proteges, people like Matt and Donnie. Yeah, they keep me in the lulls. So, yeah, I've watched your video series because I need to know that, but it's been regurgitated at me from about every direction, every inch of it.
Creation Seminar Series. We cover that in great detail in video number 2 and a whole lot more in video number 7. Okay, fossil dragonflies, 28-inch wingspan. Fossil spiders, 2-inch long with 12-inch.
Okay, so let's just make this clear right now. The fossil spider shown on the screen is nowhere near the size that he's talking about here. The spiders with the 12-inch leg spans are alive today. There's 2 species of spiders with that exceed or reach or exceed 12 inches. There's the Goliath bird-eating spider, which if you didn't catch it on Battle for Gaia last Sunday, go check that out because I did talk about the Theraphosa blondi, the Goliath bird-eating spider from the Amazonia. It's a Theraphosa, it's a tarantula, and it's the biggest spider in the world. And as far as body mass goes, it's the biggest spider that ever existed, and it lives right now. You can actually get them in the pet trade. You can own your own biggest spider that ever existed. The spiders shown in this slide here, the fossil spiders, are they're not small. They are big spiders. They're about the size of like modern orb weavers. So they are big spiders, but they're not quite as big as what we have today. Another giant spider is the giant huntsman, which lives in Southeast Asia and has a leg span of 12 inches as well. And both are a little bit bulkier than this, but the Theraphosa blondi is like orders of magnitude heavier than any spider, any fossil spider that we've ever found.
Leg span, just body 2 inches long, 12-inch leg span. Fossil beavers have been found 8 feet long. We got beavers right up the street here in our lake.
And it's funny that he has these depictions of beavers, and it's like, oh, they're just scaled up regular beavers. The fossil beavers, the giant beavers, did not live a lot. The beavers we have today are just a shadow of the diversity we used to have in that clade, right? Beavers used to be they used to fill a lot of different ecological roles. There was beavers they weren't all dam building, lodge living organisms. Some of them lived in burrows. Some of them lived in marshy areas. The giant beaver here was not thought to be quite as aquatic as its smaller cousins. They're not even descendants, modern beavers. They're very different. It didn't have the big paddle tail. It did have a flattened tail, but it didn't necessarily have that skin covering. There's no evidence that they built dams or lodges like modern beavers do, at least not to the same scale. So, yeah, this is not just a scaled up version of modern beavers. Animals in the past, despite how they look, lived very differently, and we understand more than just, hey, these bones in the dirt like you seem to think. We know about the ecology they lived in, things that lived as recently as the giant beaver actually leave trace fossils too, and not just organismal fossils, but actually trace fossils of their presence in an environment as well.
Biggest beaver today is 2.5 feet. Let's see, fossil beavers, 8 feet long. I think that's a big beaver. Fossil frogs, much bigger than today's frog. Google Beelzebufo.
Now you're getting way back into the fossil record, because this is like back in dinosaur days.
From Beelzebub, let's see. Frogs back then and frogs now. What happened? See, they're always going to tell the kids.
See, it's just memes. This is just memes. There's no science here. He's just memeing about, I mean, I meme too, but I meme with science. This is just, the fungi is making me extinct. Oh, because it's talking about the amphibians dying off. So amphibians are a good gauge of environmental stress because they have the permeable skin. They breathe through their skin. They absorb chemicals through their skin. So they're the first guys that get attacked and get by fungal infections and chemical pollution and things like that. So they're the first creatures that get that impact, unfortunately. That doesn't think that had anything to do with the demise of Beelzebufo, though.
It just was millions of years ago. That's how they hide this. No, this is before the flood came. The world was different back then. Beelzebufo, big as a cat. Let's see. Fossil cockroaches.
This one is completely BS. This is a thumbnail from that grifter creationist site. There's no such thing as a cockroach that's... oh no, 3.5 inches long is reasonable. Okay, so he's using the real sizes now. He used to be quoted as saying that this thing was like 10 inches long or something like that. It was really bizarre, but I will say that the cockroaches we have alive today are the biggest cockroaches that have ever lived too, as far as we know from the fossil record. There's no fossils of cockroaches thus far that are larger than the ones that currently exist. But I do appreciate that he's dropped the size down on this, because he used to put it like 11 inches or something like that, 14 inches. Some crazy number, some absolutely massive cockroach.
It's 3.5 inches long. Fossil snakes that are ginormous.
Ooh, yes, let's talk about after the dinosaur extinction event, the Cretaceous, that's what we used to call the Cretaceous Tertiary. Now it's the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event. There was this warm period, especially across the equatorial region. It was like crazy warm, like super warm. I don't imagine the air would have been much to breathe for us humans in that area at that time, but it was really good for big reptiles, and there was the dinosaurs had just died out of all these giant megafauna niches, and it was really warm, so all these crocodilians and snakes, turtles. There was a huge turtle that lived in this time too, that was had like a 12-foot shell. It was massive. Lived in these swampy regions of South America. There were giant crocodiles that lived in this area. It just really thrived. South America also started to produce their giant birds very early on in this. They're giant flightless carnivorous birds, because they were an island, so there wasn't a lot of mammal competition either.
Titanoboa, let's see, 42 feet long. Largest vertebrate record for a living snake belongs to the 10-meter long python. Okay, so they were 13 meters. What happened? Fossil bunny rabbits have been found, really big.
And you're going to look at these two organisms and say they're the same? These are the same kind? Do they look like they fill the same ecological niche to you? Or that they are, their anatomical features are derived? That this is just what this would turn into if it lived for 150 years? Why does its ears shrink? I mean, I guess its ears just don't grow? Some bizarre claims here on the way that rabbit anatomy works. Rabbits do stop growing when they reach a certain age. I guess his claim is that mammals don't stop growing as they age. I don't.
Compared to today's bunny rabbits. That's a big bunny rabbit. Yeah. 14-foot tall camel. Wow.
Fossil
I think
camels?
they don't get that big today, do they? No. How about shark's teeth? Indicate they were huge in the past. Megalodon was not only the largest shark, but the largest fish to ever live, 15 to 18 meters, 3 times longer than the largest recorded great white shark. So how come there were fossil sharks 3 times bigger than today's shark? That's 49 to 59 feet long. Okay. Let's see, shark in shark cider, megalodon.
Okay, so why were there Why were there giant sharks? Okay, the last couple of things you talked about, the camels and stuff, that megafauna, there's a lot of speculation on the extinction of megafauna, but there's a few things that impacted that, environmental factors and human hunting. When it comes to Megalodon, now this was well before humans were even on the scene. Megalodon lived in a period of time where it was really warm again, and the seas were really shallow. The megatooth sharks their fossil records it's pretty robust. The Totus lineage. There's actually a steady enough fossil record in the Chesapeake Bay of Megalodon evolution that we can actually, through the geological column, you can see it switch from one species to another slowly. It's what they call a chronospecies. You can actually watch evolution through the fossil record because they were so abundant in this area. It was in a time where whales were just really starting to get their footing or lose their footing, I guess, as the case may be, right? And becoming a commodity in the aquatic food chain, and big predators were right there to evolve alongside them and eat those tasty whale nuggets.
Wow, they're saying up to 50 to 78 feet on this website. Fossil kangaroos, 10 feet tall. Giant.
Yeah, short-faced kangaroos were huge. Massive.
Prehistoric kangaroo compared to modern kangaroos. Kangaroos never stopped growing.
They died out about the same time that humans arrived in Australia. Funny that.
10 giant animals that are long since dead. In Earth's distant past, many animals grew much larger than today, from monster millipedes to titanic sharks. Biggest prehistoric mammals.
Pretty cool. Got some megafauna going on here. I'm down. I love megafauna.
It's not there's no such thing as prehistoric. We have history from day one. In the beginning, God created heaven. There's no such thing as prehistoric. You can throw that word away.
No such thing as prehistoric. In the town of Bedrock, they're a place right out of history.
An Irish elk, 12 foot across the antlers. How'd you deer hunters like to put that on the wall? Yeah.
I think some medieval kings and stuff did. They would find these in like caves and pits and stuff and hang them up on their wall like they killed them. I think there was one that was one of the famous ones was on a Scottish king's wall or something that they discovered and did radiocarbon dating on it. He claimed his ancestor killed it or something like that. It's been a long time since I read that story, but we'll have to look into it. It's about the Selch, S-E-L-C-H. Just kind of a historical cryptid, which we may cover in Cryptic Corner sometime. That'd be cool.
Okay, if you can bring it down. That's the hard part, okay? 12-foot antlers, giant O'Rourke cows, huge, giant thing. How big was the O'Rourke? Let's see.
O'Rourke. It was pretty big.
Modern cattle have become much smaller than their wild ancestors.
Yeah, because we didn't want the big mean ones. We wanted the tameable ones.
I'll stop right there. Do you evolutionists ever stop and think maybe your whole theory's stupid?
We made dogs smaller too. I don't think you would refute that we customized dogs to be smaller to fit into our make them the size we need for our lifestyle, right? It's the same thing with cows, pigs, sheep, and goats. Did you notice that they all stay within about the same parameters with domestic livestock? There's a few outliers, like guinea pigs were domestic livestock that were kind of an outlier, but for the most part, large browsing mammals, between a few hundred and 1,000 pounds. Yeah.
Stupid? Because you want to think man started off small like a chimpanzee, and we're getting bigger, better, stronger, smarter. No. everything was much bigger in the pack.
Why are we getting big? You think we're bigger and better and stronger than a chimpanzee? And what, by what parameters? Chimpanzees are much stronger than we are.
Okay? The shoulder height was 15 feet. Let's see, this is a giant rhinoceros. 15 foot to the shoulder.
Ooh, are we claiming that Parasatheriums were like the same kind as modern day rhinos? That's something we could definitely explore. There's a lot of anatomical stuff we'll have to talk about.
Yes, sir. We were smarter back then. And how old are you? And how old are you? 10, and you can figure that out. 8th. Hey, all you evolutionists, come visit Dinosaur Adventureland, visit Freddy's kids. They're smarter than you, okay? So, giant rhinoceros, 15 foot
Oh, definitely Big Bad Mama. I love your videos. They're so hilarious.
7 at the shoulder. Weighed 21 tons, and it was 26 million years ago. No, before the flood came.
Yeah. Let's go back. Let's go back just a second here. No, that's too far ahead. Here was. He just flashed right through that. Hold on. I don't know why he flashed right through it.
And it was 26 million years ago. No.
Right there. So one of these things is not like the other. Am I right? Where do you draw the line on rhinoceros kind? Because there's this big guy here. There's a lot of more weird critters like him. They're just showing the one compared to this the rhinoceroses specifically. They're in a larger clade together with the Indrictotheres. And yeah. Anyway, I'm just annoyed that you're showing just that one and then all these rhinos down here, because these are actually rhinoceroses, except for the Elasmotherium. I think it may have been an outlier, but yeah.
Before the flood came. They just don't get it. I try hard, okay? 18-foot rhinoceros.
Does that look like a rhinoceros to you?
University of Nebraska Museum. Giant birds have been found. Let's see. That's 24-foot wingspan.
Argentavis.
How'd you like to hit that on the windshield about 80 miles an hour? That's not the biggest one. Quetzalcoatl.
Quetzalcoatl was not a bird. Quetzalcoatlus was a pterosaur, an archosaur still, but closer related to a crocodile than a bird, though.
Really, really big. Much bigger than that. Guys, I think you got it all wrong. Crocodiles that were really big. Let's see. 20 foot.
That's a regular crocodile right now. It's low long. Yeah.
3 inches, the record crocodile today. But they find crocodile fossils. I believe this one's 32 feet.
They're not the same. They're not the same. You would not describe this as the same kind. I don't think. Unless your claim is that all crocodilians are the same kind, which is something to unpack, because there's marine crocodilians that there's the Rorasuchians. Where do they fall? You'd probably think they were dinosaurs, I guess, even though they're very, very much crocodiles that lived in a dinosaur niche and stood bipedal and filled that large terrestrial carnivore niche. What we have of crocodiles today and what we call crocodiles is just the ones that were managed to hang on through a few massive extinction events. These the aquatic ambush version of a once diverse clade that filled a myriad of terrestrial and aquatic carnivore niches, from sea to treetops. There was even treetop crocodiles up until just a few hundred years ago. If you look at some of these islands in the Pacific that clung on till very, very recently.
Much bigger. Fossil tree found. The fossil tree, let's see, was 237 feet long, suggesting the original tree was more than 330 feet tall. That's a big tree. See, before the flood came, people lived longer, everything was bigger. It's a different world. And we cover on video number 2, why? What happened, okay? Let's see, the biggest rat. There are more than 60 species of rat. They might have had a common ancestor called a rat, okay? Typically
Audio
5
seems a little bit
inches
off on
long.
my end.
I see. Okay, rat. Current Guinness World Record for centipede is
Why did you just talk about a rat being about 5 inches long? Did you have a giant rat you wanted to show us, Kent? Because I don't know of any giant rats. You're gonna say that there were giant rodents. Sure, there were giant rodents, but they weren't rats.
10 inches. It's a big centipede. You know, they find fossil centipedes, 6 or 7.
That's not a fossil centipede. That's a arthropleura, which is a millipede. Biggest centipedes I think that I've been able to track down are the Galapagos centipedes that's currently in existence now. There are some, Ephobius fossils of dubious origins with a lot of speculation on lengths that exceed that, but not to the nothing near the size of a arthropleura. We're talking these centipedes would have been around, if the speculation is true, around like 35 centimeters, 35 to 40 centimeters, just marginally longer than modern centipedes. About as long as my forearm, so about that length, whereas a normal one probably only about that long, like my forearm without my hand, whereas these ones would have been about that long. But that's all even speculative, because we don't even know for sure whether the fossils that we have are actually centipedes. They could be from something else. There's been speculation on that, but I'll talk about that when we get more fossils on it.
Feet long. You atheists ever stop and think maybe you've been brainwashed to believe in something stupid? And you have. And I'll help, okay? Okay. Let's see. Giant centipedes have been found. Let's see. Modern centipedes measure, a distant relative of modern centipedes. These centipedes measure 3 to 10 feet long.
They're not centipedes. It even says a relative of millipedes and centipedes. Actually, this is probably somewhat dated because the arthropleura is nested within the millipedes now. So it's in diploda, like within diploda, everything, all the anatomy has been confirmed that it says, hey, this should be in diploda, so it is.
They grew so large because of the high concentration of oxygen. Oh, we covered that on video number 2. The world was different before the flood. Greater oxygen concentration, probably 32%. Greater air pressure. That's why giant birds and insects could fly. Yeah, you need to watch my video series. Okay, let's see.
Giant birds and insects could fly because air pressure was different in those days. My. That means physics would have been different, I guess, because, yeah, the mass of the planet should be the same, right? And the draw of the gravity to pull the gases towards the center mass would have been this, at least marginally the same. I guess the Earth has taken on a little bit more mass since, right? I mean, we get a showering of debris regularly, but I don't think enough to seriously cause any fluctuation in the way the air pressure is distributed. Prove me wrong, of course, if you feel that you can't.
Not only were people bigger, insects bigger, fish were bigger, everything was bigger. Giant centipedes, giant cockroaches have been found.
There were not giant centipedes, at least not anything confirmed that it's any bigger than like maybe 10% bigger than. And again, the fossils are dubious. The biggest confirmed centipedes are alive now. The biggest confirmed cockroaches are alive now. I don't even know of any fossils that they speculate that are bigger than modern cockroaches. I don't think that that's a thing.
Wow. Giant grasshoppers, 2 feet long.
Where? There's no grasshoppers that are 2 feet long. No, that's false. You're lying. That's not a thing that exists.
Bring them home for dinner. Giant fossil tarantula.
That's not a tarantula. That's a eurypterid, which is a, I guess what you call a sea scorpion in layman's terms, but it's not a spider. It's no more closely related to a spider than it is to a horseshoe crab.
That's a big spider, guys. Big
It's not a spider.
Fossil cattails, 60 feet tall, have been found. Fossil
Okay.
donkey, 9 feet high at the shoulder. Giant sloths. So ants were
Let's get
bigger.
back to the
Everything was
ants.
bigger
Thank
before
you.
the flood. This is not millions of years ago. There's no such thing as prehistoric.
How did we get off on that tangent? Let's get back to the ants, for fuck's sake.
is pre-flood. 20 quadrillion ants in the world. That's a lot. How many ants? 20 quadrillion ants is 12 megatons of carbon. That exceeds the biomass of all wild mammals and birds combined. The combined biomass of ants is the equivalent of 20% of all human biomass. All the humans together. All the ants would weigh as much as 1/5 of all the humans. I've seen some pretty big humans. Let's see. How do ant colonies function? Ants are one of the most successful groups of...
Here's where he's going to talk about ant reproductive biology. Let's explore.
...animals in the world. Live in colonies with strict hierarchy. The colony is led by a single queen, whose responsibility is to mate and lay eggs. That's all she does. Queens usually have wings and are larger than other ants in the colony. A queen ant can live over 20 years. Woo. Worker ants, all of which are female. Well, didn't Solomon say that 3,000 years ago?
Yeah, like I said, there was... I can't imagine that they didn't spend a lot of time looking at ants and stuff when they were... and then they'd share their information with each other when they tell stories and probably parables about ants and how they reproduce and what they saw when they watched the ants and things like that. Sure.
Male ants, known as drones. Drones mate with the newly emerged queens. A drone may only live for a week, dies after mating. The mated queen then establishes...
Drones are pretty useless. Drones are sperm donors. They don't contribute any work or anything. They just consume food and then produce semen.
Establishes a new colony. Harvester ants get their common name from their behavior of collecting and harvesting seeds as their primary food source. They are concerned in urban settings because of their stings. Let's see. There are 22 species of harvester ants. And Randy, I started off on this one, and it took me all over the place. You kept me up half the night, Randy.
Yeah, harvester ant is the name harvester ant is paraphrased.
There's a harvester ant up close, I believe. Harvester ants mounds are large in size depending on the species. Typically, large areas surrounding the mounds are stripped of vegetation to prevent shading. Harvester ants usually remain within the nest during the hardest part of the day. They exhibit 2 foraging patterns. Okay, you can read about all that. They prefer seeds. They'll also feed on insects. Some harvester ants move their nest in response to changing climate. The nest can be 3 feet deep. There is a single queen in each colony that is relatively long-lived. Florida harvester queen ants have been recorded to live 17 years. And let's see, the Idaho harvester has an average of 17, but have lived up to 30. Who on earth watched an ant for 30 years to see?
Solomon.
To be a government grant on that one. Okay, let's see. How many eggs does a queen ant lay? Let's see, a whole bunch. Queen ant start off laying 75 to 100 eggs a day. Let's see. Although queen ants have been recorded to live as long as 65 years. Now hold it. A queen ant can live 30 years and lay millions of eggs in her lifetime. But wait. There's much more to the story. I would like the evolutionist to explain. She mates one time.
Right.
And lays eggs for 30 years.
Lots of organisms that retain
maybe
semen
some teacher
like
in high
that.
school or college that taught you evolution either lied to you or passed on the lie that somebody told them.
It's pretty standard.
Are you even willing to reconsider your religion of evolution?
Part of reproductive
Only queens have the ability to
processes.
mate, reproduce, and lay eggs. The entire colony preoccupied with the queen and her eggs requirements. They are constantly ants working to find food for the queen and her eggs. When the eggs hatch, they transform into larvae, which require particular nourishment. The queen never mates again after she has mated. Queen ants and male ants both lose their wings after mating. The queen dashes out in quest of a suitable location for her new nest. If she lives, she constructs an...
She usually flies. She'll do what they call a nuptial flight. If she mates before she leaves, then she'll lay some fertile eggs that'll produce offspring, and she'll start a new colony. If she doesn't get to mate before she has to fly, then she'll lay some eggs that hatch into males that are worthless, and she will die.
A nest, lays eggs, and raises her first brood of workers entirely on her own. Well, let's see. So, first time she lays about 20 to 30 eggs, and within probably 8 or 10 days, they hatch and are ready to help her. How many of you have kids? Were they ready to do something around the house when they're 10 days old? Yeah. When ants hatch from their egg sac, they're called larvae. Let's see. The larvae stay in the egg about 10 days before hatching out to become 6-legged worker ants that care for the colony's needs. The freshly mated queen lays a cluster of around a dozen eggs. The larvae are fed by the queen and they hatch.
Well, they're usually more fed by a specific caste of ants that will nourish them to a specific developmental path.
7 to 10 days later, a queen who worker ants feed can lay up
Including a replacement queen if they need one.
to 800 eggs each day.
Why can't? Because AJ said, "Hey, Kent called you out about our this video was a call out or whatever because it's about bugs."
Hey, wow. The queen, the mother of all ants. She lays eggs that will become larvae and grow into worker ants. Okay. What do ant eggs look like? There you go. Okay. How long does it take an egg to hatch? Around 12 days. All right. How many eggs can a queen ant lay in a lifetime? Oh, let's see. 800 to 1,000 a day for 30 years? Much. Yeah.
Okay.
So this virgin queen ant just happens to have wings to mate with a virgin male drone who also happens to have wings and dies after mating. And he gives her enough sperm on this first flight to last her a lifetime. And she stores the sperm in a special pouch and fertilizes 1,000 eggs every day for 20 years from that pouch. And all this happened by chance. Evolutionists, look at me. Can you please give a scientific answer?
No, you just explained that there's selection going on, that they're picking mates. I was just telling you a second ago about, hey, this Gen 1 of worker class of worker class ants are going to from the very first generation are going to be able to replace the queen if they find that she is defective. They will immediately start brooding one of the other eggs to replace her. Yeah, it should be nuptial. It's just a typo, though.
For how this amazing ability evolved. Did she develop the pouch before she had the eggs to put in it? Or did she have all these eggs and say, wow, I got to get a pouch. What do I do with this? For millions of years.
Just slowly over generations became more and more efficient. This is they usually talk about birds and bees, but birds and ants about the way that these different clades developed into different directions and different ways to share their gametes and manipulate the offspring's development.
They all died, didn't they? How do they know? How do they have the equipment? Are you crazy? How do they have the equipment to mate? Mr. T says, you one crazy fool if you believe in evolution. Yeah. The female digestive or reproductive tract is stunning in its complexity, as is the male's. You evolutionists really believe these complex reproductive organs, which are really small, you know how small an ant is? The reproductive part's even smaller. It's got to fit inside, okay? Yet really prolific. The queen's going to lay what?
Because it's really small. It's not small to the ants, babe. They're fine. They're not like, oh, I can't see your hoo-hoo. Just stick it in my pee-pee. They're not doing that. It's like normal size to them. They're not humans.
4 or 5 million eggs in her lifetime? You think that just evolved with no designer over billions of years? Are you out of your mind? Have you gone nuts? Oh, yeah, okay. These first-time lovers, they've never...
Oh, yeah, when it comes to Richard Manson, when it comes to ants, and the Bible quotes that pertain to ants, I'm not saying that they are wrong. I'm just saying that it doesn't mean... It doesn't disprove evolution that someone was able to observe and make commentary on the lifestyle of and the life cycles of ants.
Never mated before. They just hatched themselves, got wings. Oh, what are these for? They know how to fly. Who taught them to fly? Did they go to flight school? No, they know how to fly and know how to mate in the air while they're flying. First time. They have all the perfect...
That's like saying you know how to blink. Did someone teach you how to blink, Kent? Did somebody teach you how to blink your eyes? Your eyes naturally blink to keep dust particles out of them. Did someone teach you how to do that? Did someone teach you how to make a sucking motion with your mouth? Who taught you how to do that? How did you even get your bottle or I don't know if you were breastfed or bottle fed, but either way, who taught you how to suck? It's for frick's sake, these are just innate biological responses to the environment around you.
Equipment to produce sperm, produce eggs, have a storage pouch ready, and are able to line up this equipment and transfer sperm while flying. Let's say you do that, okay? Then he dies, and she sheds her wings, finds a nesting spot, and all this happened by chance. You really expect me to believe that? Do you really think you're smart for believing that? Evolutionist, you have answered none of the questions in this whole series. I'm about ready for some answers. Come on. If you want to call Standing for Truth, we'll have a debate. How did this evolve? What? Are you crazy? They got to be nuts. The Bible says, go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways. All the worker ants are female. Huh, Solomon knew that 1000 BC. Her ways, gathereth her food. So, Romans chapter 1 says, because that which may be known of God is manifest in them. God has showed it to them. You know there's a God. You can deny it all you want, but down deep, you know. When you get alone.
Ew, I hate that argument. Don't you guys? Oh, you know God's real. You just, well, you deny it in your unrighteousness.
And the TV's off and the radio's off and you got quiet and you're laying down and you can finally think for a minute. You know, don't you? There's a God, and it ain't you. For the invisible things of him, God, from the creation of the world are clearly seen. You can clearly see there had to be a designer. Look at these critters. Look at these ants. There had to be a designer. If I said, nobody designed this ink pen, you'd think I'm nuts. This had a designer. A screw, a nail had a designer. A thumbtack had a designer. But you think an ant did not. What else can I say? Really, is it me? Are they nuts? Am I nuttier than squirrel? I like that. Okay. Bible says they are without excuse.
Ahoy,
When you stand before the God you
Jeff.
don't believe in.
Thank you
so
for
I'll follow
coming
the
by.
science. He's going to say, look at the ant, you simpleton. You really thought you followed the science? Okay. Where's the science for how the ant evolved the ability to make babies?
You just
When
showed
they knew
some.
God glorified him not as God, but
Can't you just showed some fossils of the of ants that were different than modern ones, like early on development of the clade. So you already answered that yourself with your slide.
were vain in their imaginations and their foolish heart was darkened, professing themselves to be wise. Oh boy, do they do that. They really think they're smart. Yeah. And change the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man and birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. Wherefore, God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own heart, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves. For this cause God gave them up unto vile affections. Even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. Verse 28, even as they did not...
Natural use? Women change their natural use. What is a woman's use? Anybody know what a woman's use is? What the Bible means by a woman's use? How do you use a woman? Doesn't seem like a woman should be something you use. Shouldn't use anybody.
Like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over. He gave them up, he gave them up, he gave them over. To a reprobate mind, to do those things which are not convenient. Proverbs. There are 4 things which are little upon the earth. They're exceeding wise. Ants are a people not strong, yet they prepare their meat in the summer. How do the ants...
Oh, Bible says ants are people. Ants are people. It's official. Proverbs 30, verse 25. Ants are a people.
Snow to work hard all summer to save up food to survive the winter. How do they know? Have they ever seen a winter before? Do they have any clue what winter is? They're born out of an egg along with millions of others. You think that they have school where the queen teaches them something? She's busy laying eggs all day long, 1,000 a day.
The queen doesn't do anything besides lay eggs. That's exactly right. She lays eggs and eats. There's a whole caste that tend to the eggs and take care of them and develop them and clean them and get them ready for school and tie their shoes. Not really, but yeah, they perform the nanny duty.
You try that. But they're smart enough to just know, hey, gather food. Who taught them that? Did that evolve? The Bible says it's appointed unto man once to die, but after this, the judgment. Are you preparing for when you die? They prepare for the winter.
Why would I prepare for when I'm dying? Right now I'm preparing for when I'm living. I don't need anything when I die. I'm dead. I want to prepare other people in my life for when I die, but not me. I mean, what am I going to do? Pre-embalm myself? It's like, oh, I'm having a heart attack and inject myself some embalming fluid. How am I preparing myself to die? This means me getting my financial affairs in order and things like that, but I don't know.
The ants are people not wise, but they prepare for what's coming. I would highly recommend you prepare for what's coming. I'm going to die one day. I'm going to make it the last thing I do, but it's going to happen. Are you prepared for yours? He brought him out, said, sirs, what must I do to be saved? What do you have to do to be saved? Simple. Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ.
Your death doesn't have to be the last thing you do, though. There's all sorts of things that you can do for future dates to impact the world. beyond your actual death. So there are going to be things, hundreds, maybe even thousands of years, that you can do as an individual well past your
And thou
death.
shalt be saved. It's that simple. Today, where would you go? Smoking or non-smoking? You're going to be dead for a long time. Might want to pack a lunch for that trip. Okay. God's not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long suffering to us. We're not willing that any should perish. God doesn't want anybody to go to hell. But if you insist, okay. What would you like him to do other than he's given you an amazing creation? You can look at an ant and realize, wow, there's a God, and he is smart. You can look at an eagle flying through the air and say, wow, there must be a God. You can look at Grand Canyon and say, wow, there must have been a flood. You can see all the layers of the earth. There's a seam.
What about Grand Canyon says that there's a flood? I've never understood that argument.
Coal they found 650 feet thick. Coal. I think that maybe there was a flood, like Noah's flood. Yeah. You could look at the real evidence and come away saying.
So the coal is actually evidence against a flood because the coal layers are divided. There's layers of sediment above and below and above and below these coal seams. How's that work in a flood in a flood model?
And wow, the Bible's true. And it is. God's not willing that any should perish, but if you want to go to hell, that's your business.
It's like he doesn't know how the basic mechanics of a river works, Sandy. That's all I can think.
Good day. To be sure, you're saved and going to heaven. Where are you going? All you atheists? I know you haven't answered any of my questions, and I know why, which is why I'm doing the series, to try to wake you up. There's a God. He made the world, wrote a book, told us how he did it. He preserved that book for us for today. And you're a sinner, you've broken his laws, and you're going to hell unless you get him to forgive you. And he wants to. And I'm trying to tell you.
I don't believe that he has any laws. I don't believe he's real. What laws? How can I break imaginary laws from an imaginary lawgiver?
The messenger boy, telegram, Mr. Atheist, telegram. The Lord loves you. He wants you to come to heaven. You get it out there.
He loves me so much he's going to torture me for not loving him back?
Okay. Go to hell then.
Gross.
That's all we can do.
Toxic.
Right. Any questions? Questions or comments, Randy?
Nope, we're done. Freaking, that dude sounds toxic. I don't want him in my life. Do you want him in your life? Do you think that Kent knows about ant reproduction? Did you learn anything about ant reproduction from Kent? I didn't, but I mean, most of the stuff that he said there about ants was like right and true. But the incredulity that he's attaching to the function is not. I kind of feel like this was just retreading the same old ground, but he wants to claim that nobody's answering these. I can definitely answer these. I did a big preamble rant and I just did a video response to it. So yeah, feel free to slap back, Mr. Hovind. But I think that we've pretty well covered what you needed or what you were wanting regarding the evolution of ants and their development. If there's any other questions you have, I definitely right down there in the comment section. I went into great detail about the reproduction today, more so than I meant to, and we are like basically out of time, but I still have some HiveScience to do. So I will be I'll be right back after these words from our sponsors. No, we don't actually have sponsors. This is just words from my friends. The cool thing about bears too is that the brown, or words from me. The cool thing about bears too is that the brown bears, under the umbrella of brown bears, is actually the polar bears. They're grouped within that clade because there are clades of brown bears that are closer related to polar bears than they are to other brown bears. Polar bears are just a subclade of brown bears that have adapted to live in the Arctic environment over generations, and they're actually, as the planet warms up a little bit, they're moving back inland and starting to interbreed back in with other brown bear populations. That's going to be the best for their genetic descendants, for them to interact with and interbreed with these other populations of brown bears that aren't so adapted to this Arctic marine environment anymore, that's disappearing.
Evolution.
How can you not believe in evolution?
Yeah, tell them that you believe in evolution.
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 Yeah, tell them that you believe in evolution.
Evolution.
Yeah, tell them that you believe in evolution.
Evolution.
You're not going to get us to not believe in evolution.
Hello and welcome. Godless Granny is about a lot of things. I talk about any issue that affects me or on which I have strong opinions. Most frequently, that's religious issues, women's issues, transgender issues, and political issues. I believe in social justice and equality for all. I feel that everyone has a right to believe what they want, but that right doesn't absolve you of criticism of your beliefs. Thus, I criticize both outlying religious ideas and mainstream ideology. I welcome theists to discuss or debate their issues with me live on stream. Contact me on Twitter if you'd like to do that. I was a Christian for 42 years. In my last decade as a believer, I became increasingly liberal, seeing that as being more consistent with biblical ideas. But eventually, the cognitive dissonance between liberal thought and certain parts of the Bible brought me to evolve my theology. I still hung on to the inerrancy of the Bible and continued to look for ways to interpret the Bible to fit reality. But when it was proven to me that the biblical flood did not happen, thank you Aaron Ra, Vice Rhino, and Pelagia, there was no longer anywhere to go. I had to let go of inerrancy. But without the Bible, my faith had no foundation, and then I left the faith. I have since met people of faith who reject inerrancy. I find this a more honest faith, but I also find it a purely human construct. Why believe in a God if you have to make up the God and what the God is all about? I now criticize the very religious beliefs that I held for decades, as I now realize that they not only do not originate from a God that loves me, but that they were dangerous in that they limited me. They limited me as a person by discouraging thought and learning. It restricted my relationships and my ability to develop myself as a person. I hope to do several things here. I hope to reach others of my generation, as we are the primary people that are still holding on to this outdated ideology. Second, I hope to reach the younger generation, imploring them not to follow in my footsteps. And third, I hope to show how the younger generation who has already left the faith can reach their parents. What arguments did I find convincing that will likely convince their parents? So come on in, let's have a chat.
All right, that was Godless Granny on the mid ad there. Please check her out if you haven't subscribed already to Godless Granny. She's a friend of the Hive. Today in HiveScience, we are going to be recapping some of the stuff from the year 2022. So let's, without further ado, let's jump right in. Okay, here are 5 record-breaking science discoveries of 2022. Fun stuff. Let's make it happen. I don't like having my paper towels right there. I actually got nauseous last night and got sick, so I had to clean it up. Anyway, you didn't need to know that, but that's why there's paper towels in here. New scientific records are set every year, and 2022 is no exception. A bacterial behemoth, a shockingly speedy supercomputer, and a close-by black hole are among the most notable superlatives of the year. Earliest surgery. The first known surgical operation was a leg amputation. That's the conclusion researchers came to after investigating the skeleton of a person who lived on the Indonesian island of Borneo about 31,000 years ago. Healed bone where the lower left leg had been removed suggests the individual survived for several years after the procedure. The discovery pushes surgery origins back by some 20,000 years. Biggest single-celled bacterium. Bacteria normally dwell in the microscopic world, but not Margarita magnifica. Averaging about a centimeter long, this newfound bacterium is visible to the naked eye. T. magnifica, which lives in the mangrove forest of the Caribbean's Lesser Antilles, is about 50 times larger than other species of big bacteria and about 5,000 times larger than typical bacteria. Why this species evolved into such a giant is unknown. Pretty cool. We covered that one. Fastest supercomputer. We definitely didn't cover this. A supercomputer named Frontier crushed numbers with mind-blowing speed this year. 11 quintillion operations per second. That makes the machine run by Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Tennessee the first exascale computer, a computer that can perform at least 10 to the 18th power operations per second. The next fastest computer tops out at 442 quadrillion, that's 10 to the 15th power operations per second. Exascale computing is expected to lead to breakthroughs in everything from climate science to health to particle physics. Largest colony of fish. Deep off the coast of Antarctica, ice fish congregate in breeding colonies as big as Orlando, Florida. Some 60 million nests of Jonas ice fish, Neopagitopsis, sorry, I mispronounced that, Iona, stretch across the length of 240 square kilometers of seafloor. Previously, nest-building species of fish were known to gather in only the hundreds. An abundant food supply and access to a zone of unusually warm waters may explain the exceptionally large group. There's the fish look. They're eerie Arctic fish. They're bizarre looking. Closest black hole. By sifting through data released by the Gaia spacecraft, astrophysicists discovered a black hole that's just over 1,560 light years from Earth. Dubbed Gaia BH1, it's about twice as close as the previous nearest known black hole, but that record may not stand. About 100 million black holes are predicted to exist in the Milky Way. Since most are invisible, they're hard to find. But when Gaia, which is precisely mapping 1 billion stars, releases its next batch of data in a few years, even closer black holes may turn up. All right, so that was our what was it? 5 record-breaking scientific discoveries of 2022. I hope you enjoyed that. That list was put together by, who's the author here? By Aaron Wayman. Yeah, so thank you, Aaron, for that wonderful list of those discoveries, and I'm thrilled to have been able to share that with my hive today. Definitely feel free, if you have any questions, to drop them down there into the comments section. And thank you for hanging out with me in the hive tonight. Everybody, or tonight, tonight, I guess if you're watching this on Monday, it'll be tonight. But anyway, you have yourself a good one. Thank you, beauties and bees, for joining me. Be kind and take care.